All right, thank you so much, Steph. A stay-at-home order is now lifted in York Region, one of the province's long-standing COVID-19 hotspots. So York entering the red color zone in Ontario's new framework. And here's a look at some of the rules that are in place. So first, a look at the GTHA. But this, non-essential businesses can now reopen with restrictions. Gyms and restaurants can welcome customers back, but only with 10 people indoors. Hair salons, they can also open up, but masks must be worn at all times. Now, our camera is standing by live in the area of Steeles and Keele, so the border between Toronto and York Region. The province says it's going to, reevaluate every 2 weeks and impose tougher restrictions if needed. Stay-at-home orders, they stay in effect for Toronto, Peel, and North Bay, Parry Sound until at least March the 8th. But then, of course, the question is the idea of region hopping. So we're going to discuss that coming up in just a bit. An independent commission will be looking into how Ontario's long-term care homes handled the spread of COVID-19. The Long-Term Care COVID Commission will interview Ontario's Chief Medical Officer of Health, Dr. David Williams, along with the Minister of Health and the Minister of Long-Term Care. They all are expected to be interviewed sometime this week. This investigation expected to look at how the virus led to over 4,000 deaths and to outbreaks at hundreds of homes. And it comes as the Minister of Labour and Minister of Long-Term Care set to make an announcement at 9:30 this morning out of Queen's Park. CityNews will be following that, of course. The province's school testing finding a low number of cases in Ontario schools when it comes to COVID, and that's according to numbers obtained by the Toronto Star. The report stating only 32 new cases were found out of 3,700 tests. Testing began in Toronto, Peel, and Hamilton earlier this month, while Ottawa and Sudbury began testing in late January. All Ontario school boards are set to ramp up testing this week. According to the province's school tracking, 255 schools have at least one case of COVID-19. Okay, get set for new rules for international travelers kicking in today, including that mandatory quarantine in a federally approved hotel. So passengers will need to quarantine in hotels at their own cost while they wait for a result of a COVID test required when they land. The federal government releasing a list of approved hotels, including the Alt Hotel Pearson Airport, Four Points Sheridan, and Holiday Inn Toronto International Airport. Experts say that these new rules will not stop faster spreading variants, but any restrictions will help slow the spread of the virus.
In many ways, the horse has already left the stable with respect to the variants, and there is clearly spread within the country. But it is absolutely true that every case that we can prevent coming in prevents, dozens, if not hundreds, and then thousands more cases in our country.
Anyone arriving by land borders will also be given self-swab kits with testing provided on site at 5 high-volume border crossings. The Prime Minister says that the new rules are meant to prevent the spread of the virus, not to punish travelers. And we are standing by live at one of the hotels, one of the quarantine hotels. This is the Holiday Inn on Dixon. And it is where passengers will be quarantining. And this comes as the federal government extends that Canada-U.S. border closure for at least another month. So we're looking until March the 21st. All right, we need some good news, and it's coming on the vaccine front. Canada is set to receive a record number of vaccines, this after a month-long lull. 640,000 shots will be arriving in the country this week from both Pfizer and Moderna. Shipments from Pfizer were delayed last month after the company announced it had to expand a production plant in Europe. Canada expected to receive 4 million jabs by Pfizer by the end of March. So far, 1.4 million doses have been given. And we're going to be watching this. Prime Minister Trudeau will be holding his first bilateral meeting with U.S. President Joe Biden happening tomorrow. The COVID-19 pandemic definitely going to be at the top of the agenda in this virtual meeting between the two leaders. However, there has been tension between the allies after Biden's decision to block the Keystone XL pipeline during his first day in office. This will be Biden's first bilateral meeting with a foreign leader, and the White House says Biden and his cabinet will also meet virtually with Canadian ministers on a range of issues. All right, a lot to discuss here this morning on BT, including our battle against COVID-19. So coming up in about 10 minutes' time, I'm going to be talking with infectious disease specialist Dr. Zain Chagla. He'll be joining again. And then later on at 8 o'clock, we join City News reporter Faiza Amin on a new documentary exploring the long-term impacts of systemic racism. Coming up next, Boeing telling airline operators to ground some of their 777 fleet after an incident over Colorado. Mike Eppel with those details coming up.